actually, before project management can begin, you actually have to select a project. And part of that process includes looking at all the possible projects that you can work on and then deciding what is the best fit for the organization and for the amount of resources you have. So today I'm going to go over these 6 areas associated with the project portfolio and the selection of the project. So the first is that you need to really be aware of the strategic framework for the corporation, or in your case for the nonprofit organization or the for-profit organization. This is the kind of thing where we asked you to think about what is the most important thing for the organization. What are they for? What's their history? Where do they come from? Where are they going? What do they believe in? So this kind of thing gives you a really good background to say, actually which projects fit best into their strategic framework. So that's really one of the first steps you do when you're looking at project selection. The next thing you might do is list out all the possible projects. In a corporation, how this happens is that each organization, each division of a corporation sends projects to their corporate offices, and they get all enumerated and they get evaluated for profitability and for strategic direction. For you, this might be that you actually look at your project site and you go through and you say, what are all the possible things we could do here, or that anybody could do? Maybe not just you, but maybe there's some contractor or something that you could get involved. So you try to enumerate all the possible projects, kind of collect a list. And then what you do is go through and categorize and balance. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Now, one way to categorize projects is there's things that are called compliance projects. These are things that you absolutely must do to stay in business. And this might be, the reason it says compliance is it might be some sort of government regulation that's required. So you actually have to do this in order to be an organic garden. You have to do this kind of certification. The next sort of level up is operational. That this actually would help the operations. It would help things run more smoothly. It would help the quality of the issues. So sort of a low level, just the operational kind of thing. And then the third is strategic, meaning that this might be a new area in which you want to get involved, a new sort of a new branch of your organization, adding a whole new business unit, a whole new profit stream. This would be sort of a strategic direction. So looking at your projects and looking at what are each of these. Now, obviously, compliance is kind of important. You actually need to do those first. They often don't come up as profit making, but they kind of are, because if you don't do them, then you actually can't stay in business. But looking at projects in that way. Another way to look at projects is looking at the level of intervention. Now, what this means is that you can sort of, let's say you have a problem with the soil. You can add fertilizer to the soil and the problem's fixed, but then it will just come back. So that's sort of a low-level intervention. Now, what if you actually look at all the dynamics around the soil and how the soil got to have that problem, and you fix those problems? Maybe it has to do with the ongoing flooding, and so then you fix something about the ongoing flooding. That's kind of the next level of intervention. Maybe you actually even need to look at, is this particular these things that are grown on this soil, is this appropriate for the kind of soil it is? That's a higher level intervention. Now, I have written there that people are kind of have an idea of this with the idea that if you give somebody a fish or if you teach them to fish, but there's another level if you give them a fishing pole. So that idea that where are you going to intervene in the system, at what level? And really the idea is you actually do want to intervene at the highest possible level with the resources that you have. The next is a project screening matrix. And I'm going to go through this a little bit, but what you generally do with this is you list projects and then you list criteria. And this is an example of it. So let's say we have all of these projects that we've enumerated. We can do composting, we can have bees, we can do soil repair, we can create a petting zoo, we can redo the parking lot. And I've listed just 3 possible criteria. There's all kinds of other criteria. But what you do is you kind of fill in this matrix so you have a general idea of all of the projects and sort of what are they and how are they going to be working. Now, this is one way to do it, to just list it out, and you can kind of see, wow, some of those are really expensive, like the parking lot, and they might actually be low. If our goal is sustainability, we really want to look at what are the highest levels of sustainability. And one way of doing that is actually to sort of use a color code system. This is what Consumer Reports uses, this kind of coloring system. So in this case, we have green is really good, yellow is okay, and red is not so good. So we kind of can see here that if we look at the petting zoo and the parking lot, those are actually not there's no green in them, and especially the parking lot. So we probably might eliminate those. And we might really look more carefully at these three to see, there's some good things about this, and this, especially this soil repair, it looks like it might be a good look. So this is a way of sort of sorting out, probably mostly just cutting off the low projects. Another way to do it is some sort of weighted thing. Now here, I forgot to put on here, but 5 is high and 1 or 0 is low. So it's good to have a high. So what I've done is I went to this and I said, which is the highest, which is the best? So in this case, this is a really low cost alternative, these two. So I went ahead and put them at 5s. And you can also see I put them at greens here too. And then I did that for all of this. So I converted all the qualitative information to quantitative information. Then I weighted them. So I said, well, really this particular organization is low on cost. So we want to really weight the initial cost heavily. Like we want it to be a low cost alternative. And the profit is sort of important and sustainability is important. So what I did is I did a weighted average calculation here. And what that ends up is you can see that these three are pretty much tied. But these two are pretty low. So we would definitely cut out these and then start looking at these. What can we do about that? What others good things about that? Maybe talk to other people about what to do. So the next thing then is the last thing is to really consider all the project stakeholders. So making sure that you actually talk with people about this, that it isn't just a decision that you're making, that this is a decision you make with the project stakeholders. Stakeholders are anybody who's concerned about the project. The owners, the employees, and sometimes the shareholders if it's a big corporation, you, the customers, the suppliers, who are the stakeholders in the business, and making sure that they understand what's going on in your decision-making process. And then what you end up with is a list of projects in order of priority. And from there, then you can start saying, okay, we're going to do the first project. I'm just going to execute it. And then given that this particular, the Sustain project is an ongoing 5-year, hopefully maybe even longer, relationship with the organization, it's not that these projects aren't going to be done later. It's just they might not be done now. And that you want to make sure that you're making good choices about your resources and about the priorities for the organization.